Beautiful. So, okay. Here we go. So, one question that I would love for each of my panelists to kind of start us off with an answer is, when you think back 5 to 10 years, because we're all from different ages and backgrounds and varieties here, what's something you wish you understood sooner about life or your career that you think could have helped?
Is there another mic? We need the mic. Do we need the mic?
Yeah.
Okay. You might have to pass it. It's only one mic.
Oh, okay.
Whoever wants to take it first, you can just go straight down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't mind, just that question one more time, please.
Yes. So when you think back 5 or 10 years, what's something you wish you understood sooner about life or your career?
I'm gonna keep it real simple, that nothing lasts forever. I'm gonna just say that nothing lasts forever, so always be prepared for when life throws you a curveball. Just always stay prepared. Preparation means opportunity, so just make sure you prepare for future opportunities and the changes that life throws at us. So yeah, I would say that nothing lasts forever.
I would say, based on my own personal experience, you're going to have to look out for yourself, and you're going to have to just know that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, and don't let other people deter you, because sometimes you can get into something that you really are passionate about, but you don't get the training or the education or the knowledge that you need from whatever position that you decide to go into, and you can feel very defeated, and you're just going to keep going, and you're going to have to look for those opportunities to learn and grow, and just know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I think the biggest one for me is realizing the job that you're wanting, you actually are preparing for it a few years before you actually get it. That has served so true in my career, from basketball to being a business owner now. And so just realizing that the work that you do now does matter, and that can put you in a better situation in the future.
For me, it would be to trust myself, trust my judgment. As a young professional, I always went to others, like, what do you think? What do you think? And just being sure about just my alignment and my purpose, and just making those decisions.
And that's some great answers. So, like, when in doubt, trust yourself. You know, we know what we're supposed to do in life, and if not, we know how to get there. And we don't always have to, conform to someone else's agenda or to society's norms or what society perceives to be the norm. So, thank you. And I think this is another question that I can have each of our panelists ask as well. What's one mistake or challenge early in your journey that helped you grow?
Okay. I feel a mistake or a lesson, that's what I want to say, a lesson was for the Department of Corrections. There was an opportunity for me to promote, and because I was early 20s, I was unsure about myself and my abilities. And even the facility manager at the time, she said without saying, like, apply for the job, you'll get it. And I was like, I'm just not sure, And what had happened was somebody else came in and got the position, and I ended up training that person for the position. So that was a lesson. And then 6 years later, I ended up getting the position because they later on transitioned to somewhere else. And I'm just like, man, take advantage of every opportunity. And I always tell other people that's hesitant about promoting, like, just do it. Don't tell yourself no. Just go. Just do it.
I think the biggest mistake that I made was when I graduated college. I had a few opportunities to play overseas, and being a boy from Louisiana, I was super closed-minded about the opportunities. Didn't end up taking them, so I got my MBA instead, and then officially went overseas. But I think being hesitant, being willing to take risks is really, really important as you grow, because the experiences that you do get to have by taking those risks really, really matters a lot.
I
don't regret any mistakes or challenges that would have gotten me here, because it got me to where I'm at today. I would have liked to have gotten here sooner, and I would have started my company and my career a lot earlier than I did. But I guess my personal profession, one thing that I would have changed was I started off at a larger company. I don't feel that I got the training that I needed. So I would have definitely started at a smaller company where I got more one-on-one training and more of that personal time with whoever was training me versus being in a larger group and not really understanding what was happening.
I would say for me, definitely no mistakes, no regrets. Now that I look back in hindsight to where I'm at now, I realize everything that you go through kind of leads up to this point in our life. But for me, I would probably say, he said something key, discipline. I would have had more discipline, I would say, early on, just so I can get to where I needed to get a lot sooner. And not just that, just be prepared, like I said, for the opportunities that God had for me in the future. I wish I would have just had more discipline then, so I could be more prepared for what's now. But I'm learning that discipline is very important, though, moving forward, and I'm working on it. It's a process, so yeah.
I love how you each all brought up risk, because I can't remember his name, but he came in and he had this, his professionalism was speaking about heroism. And he said, if you've never noticed, one thing about heroes is that they had to overcome something. They had to be bold and take a risk. In every story, that's how you overcome your fears and you grow. That's how you sell. Thank you for all your responses. That's great stuff. And how about here, thinking about risk as well, how do you set boundaries? And I think it's important to set boundaries both earlier on in your career, mid-career, and even like all different journeys of your career. So you can answer that from any different point.
Honestly, I'm still in the middle of figuring that out, but what I've learned through just trial and error is really, when it comes to boundaries, you have to understand your purpose and the alignment. And like in my bio, I have to stay anchored in faith. So when other people come or when it's not aligned with what God has for me, then I know that, okay, I have to keep them on that side. So boundaries come with alignment, just understanding your purpose, where you're trying to go in life, and yeah, that'll help you set those boundaries.
Yeah, some of the boundaries that I set usually doesn't matter what room I'm in. Pick your battles. For me, is really, really big, and a lot of people in coaching specifically, you have to pick which battles you want to fight, because there's so many battles that you can be fighting, but you really, really will exhaust yourself. And so what I've been able to learn is pick which battles, pick what you're passionate about, and be willing to fight that battle. And so that's something I've always kind of lived by as I've just kind of grown into a mature professional.
There's definitely a lot I could say about boundaries with being a property manager, especially when it comes to tenants and employees and things like that. But what I will say, hopefully it would help other people as far as boundaries go, is just, and when you start, you're trying to be a people pleaser, you're trying to answer all the questions, you're trying to answer all the texts and the phone calls, and you really can burn yourself out until you realize that this can wait. And you can take a beat, and you can take a moment and breathe and think and like go about your day before you answer those calls or those texts, and maybe sleep on it. You know, these are not things that are emergencies. A lot of the times they can be answered the next day. So, I mean, I think that's one thing I've been learning the most in my journey is just, I don't have to respond right away. I do, just because I have a terrible memory. But otherwise, I don't have to respond right away. people can wait. You're not on other people's time. You are on your own time. So just setting that kind of boundary, I think, has been the most significant for me.
Boundaries. Ooh, boundaries. I'm learning a lot about boundaries these days. Let me just say that, like I kind of explained, I kind of inherited my new role. I didn't ask for it. It just kind of happened. And in the midst of that, I'm learning a lot about boundaries. So boundaries is a very sensitive word for me. And I'm going to say why. I'm just going to keep it real. You know, if you don't set boundaries, it can kill you. Literally kill you. My dad, you know, as great as he was, that was an area and opportunity for him that he didn't quite get good at, setting boundaries. And if we want to be honest, if anybody knows my father, that's what took his life, his ability to not be able to set boundaries. He wasn't good at it, and he got pulled in a lot of different directions. And me stepping into his role, because he did get pulled in so many different directions, people kind of expected the same thing from me coming home. And I hear from my other half sometimes, you know, just teaching me about managing my time, my meetings. Sometimes, you know, a meeting's not supposed to take 3 hours. You know, it's like you got to get home. It's dinner time now. You got to set a schedule. It's an hour and then we done, you know, and they'll pick up your phone right now while we eating dinner, honey. You know, that's what she'll tell me sometimes. And not just her, you know, just based on the experience and what I know from my dad, by being around him, he never stopped picking up his phone. He never stopped. I'm going to just share a quick story right quick, because like I said, boundaries is serious to me. Is when my dad was in the hospital, laying on his bed, his phone was still, people were still asking him questions about what to do and where to go while this man was laying in bed with a brain surgery, you know, and with his brain, half his head was cracked open, you know, and he just got surgery done, and people were still calling his phone, texting his phone, to the point where he was laying in the hospital bed with his eyes closed doing this. He was typing in the air. He didn't have a computer because he just was so wired to just always be doing something, get pulled in a different direction. And I'm just going to say this real quick, too. When he was laying in the hospital bed, it was, you know, people on Facebook sending their prayers and wishes and all of that stuff, right? It was people in the comments saying that they was mad at him for not picking up his phone, not knowing he was in the hospital, because they was talking about starting a new program. You know, so I'm saying all that to say that boundaries, if you don't learn to set them, not only can it kill you, but before I get to the kill part, it can ruin your relationship, it can ruin relationships, and it can also take your life. So it's important that we learn how to pour into ourselves, and then choose who we want to pour back into once we fill our own cup up. So I'm just going to say that.
Very good.
Yeah, that was very good. And
Very good.
Talking about boundaries and how, like you said, when someone mentioned about being a people pleaser, I feel like very early on in your career, you're still trying to stay open to those opportunities, trying to get your foot through the door. So you become this yes person, and you feel like, if I don't say yes, I'm going to miss this opportunity, even though those opportunities don't even align with your purpose or what you're trying to go in life. So it can deter you from your path, from your purpose, and really, and then all in the end, it's wearing you down. It does. It wears on your internal health, and it depletes you. And if you can't be your best self coming into a room or a space or showing up for somebody, then you're doing an injustice on yourself and in that person too, because then you're not even showing up 100%. You're not giving so boundaries are very important. It's very good lessons. If you can learn that earlier on in life, you can save yourself so much worries and stress. And like, these are all great examples of just that. So I hope this audience today and online takes that in. And speaking about boundaries and taking care of yourself, the next question here, how do you stay true to yourself in spaces where you might feel pressure to fit in? because I know, I feel like you all have kind of been in situations where you could probably relate to that. And whoever wants to take that first.
For me, I'm very, very extroverted in a very respectful way. I can honestly say in all the roles in the rooms that I've always been in, I've been myself. And the thing that I've learned about that is people appreciate that. And also what I've learned about it is I'm really good at getting ahead of it. And so I always tell people I'm a big golfer, so not a lot of black people golf. So I'm like, hey, invite your favorite black golfer in, And so like really bringing light to it allows me to bring my authentic self to the rooms and the spaces that I'm in. And so I think it's really, really important to stay genuine, but just show it to be real. I think people respect that more than anything. And that's something I really, really lean into and double down on, no matter where I'm at. So.
I would say in most places, kind of like golf, I play soccer, not a lot of us are there either. And just in general in real estate, there aren't a lot of us in real estate, unfortunately. So I find myself in a lot of places where I am not seeing my people, but I do not ever feel the need to fit in. I do not ever feel the need to try to be something other than who I am. And I'm just kind of one of those people, if you don't like it, then just don't talk to me. It's fine with me. And so I also feel that, going back kind of towards the boundaries, it's important to say no too. If you're just in a place where you're not going to feel comfortable, or there's something you don't want to do, if there's a job you don't want to take, you don't have to take it. It is the benefit of being an entrepreneur. It's the benefit of having your own company. You don't have to accept everything and everybody. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Just to make sure I answered it correctly, 'cause I think I know what you said. What was the question again? That boundaries thing took me somewhere. I had me over here thinking, like, Daddy, what? I'm just playing. No, come on. Go ahead. What was it again? I was over here thinking about my daddy. Why he said boundaries? But go ahead. What was it again?
The question was, how do you stay true to yourself in spaces where you might feel pressure to fit in?
True to yourself or pressure. So, how do you stay true to yourself in situations where you are pressured to feel fit in? That's a good one. I never dealt with that. Let me not say that. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. That's a good one. I would say, I don't know. I think we all done fell victim in one way. At some point in our life, I think we all done kind of fell victim or participated in something, but I would say just be who your mama gave birth to and your granny. Be that person. I tell kids all of the time, don't get stuck in a character. Don't let people try to make you into a character. Be the person that your mama used to hug and love on as a baby, and be who you would want to be if you stand in front of your grandmother or an elder that you respect. So in my mind, I would always keep that in mind when I'm in situations like, how does my granny feel about this? Am I her baby boy in this situation, or am I trying to be who they want me to be? So in my head, I would always keep in my heart the people that love me the most. I guess is the best way to say it. Just by staying true to myself, I just keep in my mind and my heart who really love me, and who do I really want to who do I want to represent. We always got to make sure that when we step outside, we're representing something or somebody. So I guess that's the best way to say it. Be true to myself by staying true to my foundation, to my roots, is the best way to put that.
For me, I'm going to speak in terms of being the founder of Equity Initiative. So just not recently, but over the past year or so, we've been having issues with funding. And the reason why is because our name has equity in it. And I was battling, like, what am I going to do? And I knew one thing I didn't want to do was to conform to what the world was doing, because I really believe that equity was something that God gave me, and I'm not going to conform and change my name just to get some funding. So I really just buckled down, prayed, little fasting, and really, again, it's all about that being aligned, and God spoke to me, and Brandon, we talked in that hallway at JDF, and you know, and it's funny because I actually had a dream or a vision the night before, and then it took me to be courageous enough to even humble myself to ask Brandon while we were in the hall, because I heard a voice say, do it, just ask him. And I asked him, and it was just smooth. He was like, yeah, come on. So I didn't conform, I stayed aligned, and I was humble enough to, you know, make the next move, run the play that God wanted me to run.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love when you said, especially Brian, when you said, be the person you were born, brought into this world to be, the person your mother birthed. I always tell the youth in my crossover youth, I'm a leader at St. Mark with the crossover youth ministry. I always tell them, God made us unique. There's no one else on this earth like you. That's your North Star. I'll lead with that. But honestly, with that, someone told me one day, they're like, if you go into, because a lot of times we'll get to a point in our life where we'll go into an organization or an institution where we are in a place where there's not a lot of people that look like us. Mm-hmm. And you might feel the pressure to conform to someone else's agenda, or, you know, like you said, suddenly all the bosses around you, they play golf. So suddenly you're a golf player, but you ain't never played in your life. People can see the fakeness. They will trap you. You'll get so trapped until you'll get sick, or you'll get booted, or you'll get caught up in class. And it's not healthy. It really isn't. And then at that same time, if you want to come into a place from advocacy where you want to be a change maker, it's hard to make change when you're not yourself. Because then when you come to make that change, people are looking at you like, well, you've never been this person before.
Right.
Where is this coming from? And it makes it hard for you then to become within yourself, because you've been this other person for so long. So if you could come as your true, authentic self from the beginning, it does set you up for the best. And like I said, if you don't like me, then maybe that's not the place for you. Mm-hmm. And it's better to learn that lesson probably earlier on than later. So yeah, thank you for everyone's responses there. Let's go on to our next question here. What should people in this room and outside the room start doing now that you think could pay off later, whether maybe personally or career-wise? And whoever wants to.
You said something that we can start doing now?
Yeah.
Learning something that'll make you different. I think standard, maybe it's the right thing to say or not, but education, you know, it's kind of like the standard we have in education, right? Well, what else are you going to do to stand out? And so when I say that, I always tell even my kids, they're not that old yet, but I'm always telling them to be something different. Do something different to stand out, especially with job applications and different things. Like, for me, I'm a Black financial advisor. That's a standout in itself. Mm-hmm. I'm a Black, extremely educated financial advisor. Mm-hmm. That stands out in itself. And I'm fluent in Spanish. That stands out in itself as well. So I really, really believe in making yourself different. So the jobs that you are applying for, there's no reason why you're not going to hire me for the job for lack of education or what I bring. You're not going to hire me for some other purpose. And so my dad has been really, really big on that. And that's something, as I get mentees, I'm just like, make yourself different. Challenge yourself to do something outside of just the standard of, you know, what we have to do.
One more time. I have the answer, but I just want to make sure I flow into it good.
Yeah, so the question was, what should people in this room or outside this room start to think, something that they can start doing now, or start thinking about doing now that could pay off later?
Oh, okay. This is good. I would say exposure, because with exposure, what it does is we are taught one thing, and then we get exposed to other things. So now we realize that we have to unlearn some of the things that we were originally taught, and then relearn a new way. So through exposure, just learning unlearning and relearning. Just keep that in mind, and then that'll help you like continue to grow and not just be in this box. Because I'm from Northeast Wichita, so after I went to college, Wichita State, I was exposed to so much more, and it expanded my horizons. Like, okay, everybody doesn't think like that. You can unlearn that and relearn. So exposure, and then just being open enough to do the work.
Yeah. I'm going to speak to the people who have no idea what they're going to do. I had no idea. Got out of college, still no idea what I was going to do. I couldn't possibly tell you what to start doing now at that point to get you to where you were going to be, because I went through so many places before I got to my destination, and I definitely believe that those places got me to the destination and the mindset that I needed to have. So I did restaurant management. I absolutely believe management is a key and vital role in my current situation that I am now, being able to manage people, situations, high stress, all those things have definitely helped me. Would I have thought back then that I was going to be a lifelong restaurant manager? I did. I had no other plan. I had nothing else going on for me, even with my degree. So I never thought that I would one day become an owner of a brokerage. Just, no. So what would you be doing now to follow the path that's in front of you? I definitely just was like, hey, how do I become a restaurant manager? And someone was like, well, just fill out this application. I was like, okay. There was no great plan. There was no great, next step. It was just, I'm serving, waiting tables, and I have a degree. I should be doing more, What can I do that'll get me further up? And that's just really all I was focusing on, is how do I get to the next level? And so just, I guess for me, for those people who don't know what they want to do, I would just say, focus on the next level. Focus on the next step, and just kind of take it one step at a time and follow that path that's in front of you.
I would say two things. Exposure. I think exposure is very important. My father, he took us to all these different cities to live in: St. Louis, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Dallas, and that type of exposure has allowed me to look at life through a different lens, especially moving back home. It's allowed me to kind of look at things from a different angle than most people who've probably been living here their entire lives. So I would say exposure is very important, just to be around different cultures, different people, just learn different lifestyles, and just be educated in a totally different way. Exposure is very important. And then discipline. I'm gonna go back to discipline too. Most people don't reach their full potential in life, and a lot of times that's just the lack of discipline, enough to just sit down and study and learn and be courageous enough to want to go search for that exposure that's necessary to get to the next level. But I would say exposure and discipline.
And just kind of based off your responses, it got me thinking. So this is a question that I didn't kind of have pre-planned, but I do think it's kind of important to the conversation. And it kind of goes back to how you get so far in your career, people say you need a mentor, or you need to lean on somebody, or you need some professional advice to guide you. And I know back when I was younger, I heard that plenty of times, but I know in my own mind, I'm like, that's like me asking for help. And I had a hard time asking for help when I was younger because, I was it. I could do whatever I needed to on my own. That was my mindset back then. I know better now, but so it got me thinking, for you guys, what is one thing that you can think about that you thought that has changed your mind about what a mentor is or should be, or maybe even should look like, versus what you thought about maybe back in your younger days?
So starting real estate, having absolutely no idea anything about real estate and nothing about what a realtor does, and just jumping in and just doing it. I definitely would have loved a mentor, did not get a mentor. So some kind of went back to what I said, when you're like, you're in that place, you should be in that place, but you don't have the education or the knowledge of what you're doing in that place, and not giving up and just kind of pursuing and persevering through it. And I went to several different brokerages, went through several different brokers, and until I got to the one that literally took me under their wing and like taught me everything I know to get me to the point where I am today. And so having that mentor really did change my entire trajectory of where I was going or where I could have been going. And now as a broker, I was telling him earlier, I love taking care of newer agents because I love being that person that's teaching them all the things that they needed to know, because I remember how it was for me spending 4 years of my career initially doing nothing, knowing nothing, until I got that correct education. So I try to give that education to people now so they can start their career off quickly and not have to wait like I did.
Right. I think mentors, I want to make sure I answer this question correctly again. What should a mentor look like? I'm assuming that's the question, right?
Yeah, or like what has changed? How has your definition changed of a mentor versus your younger days versus now?
So that's what I thought you had. So it hasn't changed. My how a mentor should look to me and what it's always looked like. I hate to keep going back to this, but that man right there on that picture, my dad, he was more than a father to me, and I hate to keep doing that, but he was more than a father to me. He was my mentor. So now that he's gone, it's kind of hard for me to look at. He was the greatest mentor because he never wavered. He was consistent. It wasn't a time to where he took a day off to be a mentor and a father and a friend to me. He was all of the above. And that's what a mentor looks like to me. It's somebody who's consistent, somebody who has father-type attributes or characteristics, who can kind of provide that nurturing side that most fathers have. Somebody that's relatable. And I don't know if I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. Somebody who's consistent, because he never stopped being that. Like I said, he wasn't just my dad. He was a mentor because the same information that he gave me and the things he taught everybody else around me. So I was actually able to see that and witness that, observe it, and absorb it too. And now I'm able to utilize that same information. I'm just pouring back in, and not just me. It's a lot of fruit from his tree that's scattered around, not just these streets, but other cities too, where people are pouring that back into the community. So a mentor looks like a person who's consistent and somebody who is leading with integrity and gratitude. I would say that, and humble too. I would say so. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it right there. I can keep going. Go ahead.
When I was younger, a young professional, I felt like a mentor was somebody that was like popping in the community. Like, I need to talk to this person. I need this person to be connected. That's what I thought. As I matured, not only professionally, but also in my faith, what I realized is that I need somebody that can pray with me, pray for me, fast with me. That's what a mentor is to me. That's connected to the source, not just. There's a difference between being elected and selected. I need someone that's selected by God, and that we can just kind of, just go through this journey together, but also have God in the midst of everything. Because I don't care about the popularity and the things like that. I just need somebody that's aligned. So I have one mentor. Her name is Rainisha Hunter. She's actually my sister. We crossed together in a sorority, but she is like a powerhouse, and I just love her so much, and I know that God aligned us together for this moment, like for the moments that we go through. He aligned us together, so yeah.
That's real nice. So in other words, just kind of be known for your own needs and where you're going, and align yourself. Just feed into those needs.
Yeah.
to get you to where you're going. Yeah, I love that. And also, one thing I can actually say, I think I had some mentors earlier on in life who I didn't necessarily see as mentors. But now I look back at them to this day, they were actually giving me some advice who I may not have thought took place, but it really did. I wish I would have gave credit to when it was just like, but like I said, I was young and I wasn't really thinking where I should have. But a lot of times we do have those unintentional mentors that come along in our life and we don't necessarily see them as mentors. But kind of, I'll also just kind of add that, like, mentors don't always look how you perceive them to look. Even to this day, be surprised. I mean, I have a middle class, lady who's like, man, that's a mentor of mine. And I never thought that, someone like that would be a mentor of mine, because your mentors don't have to look like you or even be from the same background as you. But this man has said some things to me that has opened my eyes to a whole other world, but that has really set me up for some spaces that I needed to be set up for. So just remember that too. And then we're coming down to the last, so we've got just two more questions of our final question. One thing I would love to ask you guys too is about purpose. Do you have any good advice for folks who are struggling with finding their purpose? Maybe some feedback or insight from somebody that can kind of help set them on the right path of getting there to finding their purpose.
That's something. I don't know about finding your purpose. I mean, I literally fell into my purpose and did not know. I had no idea I was going to like real estate or that I was going to be passionate about it when I started doing it. I had no. What I can tell you about purpose is that when you're in your purpose, it will not feel like work. You will be able to do your purpose wherever you are, when anytime. I mean, your dad was probably in his purpose, but unfortunately, it's not great for everybody around you. But you love it, and you're enjoying what you're doing, and you can do it. And it's not going to feel like work. That's all I can say. It's not going to feel like we're going to look forward to doing it all the time, and you'll be able to do it any time of day. When you wake up, when you think about it in the morning, you'll be able to dream about it at night. You'll be able to do it any time in the middle of the night. I mean, it's never going to feel like work for you. So that's all I can really say. When you find your purpose, then you will know you're in it.
I'll say one thing on that.
Okay.
Because I was kind of going to say that, and I'm not going to build all the way on it. I'm just going to say that it's whatever feels good to you. Just kind of what she said, it's just whatever feels good to you. If it feels good to you, and like she said, it doesn't feel like work or a job, then you found your purpose. And it's really just that simple.
I agree with everything you said. I remember people come to me, well, Brandon, you came to me before, like, how do you do it? Or a lot of people come like, how do you just keep going? And I'm just like, I just do it. Like, it doesn't feel like work. I have a day job that I do 10-hour shifts, and I leave there, and I come and I do my after-school program, and it does not feel like work. It feels like I'm hanging out with the kids, we're having fun, and I go home and do it all over again. So, yes, what feels good to you and what doesn't feel like work and what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And I might just add one little thing too, because a mentor of mine, we were actually during one of our sessions, she said, you're doing a lot right now. She's like, what is your purpose? I'm like, well, this is all my purpose. I love all this. And she's like, just because you love it doesn't mean it's your purpose. You could be doing a lot of things you like to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean all of those things are your purpose. And so it did allow me to kind of open my eyes a little bit, do some self-reflection, and kind of hone in on exactly what is my purpose. Because I was doing a lot. And when you get to a certain point in life, you can't do everything. Eventually, you can't always be a yes person. You got to prioritize, and that's one of those skills you got to kind of learn as you go. And so, and like I said, it feels good. It's not just you don't feel exhausted or overwhelmed or burned out. And you can do a lot of that because you can do a lot of things you like to do and just feel burnt out eventually because you're doing a lot of things, but not necessarily your purpose.
Right.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Do I need a mic? Okay. Well, I was just also going to say, think about the things that like really get you emotional. Like kids will get me emotional. Like if I see somebody treat a kid wrong, or, you know, somebody's not advocating for the kid, like, that really does something to me, and I go hard for them. Homelessness, like, that really does something to me. So think about what really, like, moves your heart, brings that emotion up, and then tap into that. So if you have any of those feelings when certain things are happening or you see certain things, then explore that a little bit more.
All right, this is gonna be our last question. Well, the question to our last question, leading up to our last question. Has there ever been a moment in life where you felt stuck? And then what helped you or allows you to become unstuck?
You have, like, stuck in what are we talking about?
It could be stuck either personally or career-wise. So you can answer it from either way.
Stuck in the mud.
You got something?
Okay.
I think I already mentioned that I had no idea what I was going to do. So I did feel stuck, especially graduating college. Feeling like after I came out of college, I should have had my big girl job, and I was working several jobs, and you know, and it definitely did not feel like my purpose. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. But I did feel stuck. I did feel like I should be doing more. I have more. I should be like giving. There's more I should be doing with my life. And so I would say probably from graduating college all the way up, probably a good 10 years, I probably felt stuck, you know, and I was, you know, it definitely weighs on you, and you just, like, you know that you're supposed to be doing something else. You can feel that this is not what you're supposed to be doing for the rest of your life, but you just don't know, you know, and so you're just constantly, like, searching. And so you will know when you're not in your purpose. And, you know, I guess just kind of lean and learn from that stuck feeling that this is not where I'm supposed to be, and keep going until you find it. I mean, that's really all I got, so.
Yeah, I can elaborate a little bit on that. I guess as an example of me feeling stuck is right before I moved back, I was kind of dealing with that feeling of feeling stuck. I was in Dallas, of course. Like I said, I was living in Dallas. I was doing the Protect Your Mind, selling my books and my T-shirts, merchandise, kind of doing light community work in Dallas, and then trying to come down here and help my dad do what he was doing here at the same time. But while I was in Dallas, I felt I was starting to feel like I wasn't living truly in my purpose. Like what I'm doing now was kind of it was part-time a little bit, and I wanted to do it full-time, but I didn't want to move back to Wichita either at the same time. I fought against that. I'm like, I do not want to move back, but I knew my dad needed me to, and I hate to make this about my dad, but
Okay.
a lot of my life revolves around the work that he did and just me and his relationship. But for the most part, you know, I was feeling stuck before I came down, and I just did not know how to help more, because I was trying to do it from a distance, but in the midst of that, I was, you know, still working a job, doing Protect Your Mind, kind of straddling the fence too in some other situations, but I didn't have my true purpose, or that thing that I just love to do every day, just it all day, every day. So I would get frustrated a lot living in Dallas, just feeling stuck. And I'm saying that to lead up to something. Sometimes when we feel stuck and we want to live in our purpose, we have to be prepared for the opportunity, and sometimes sacrifice comes with that. When God's going to bless you with your purpose, sometimes He's going to take something from you so you can gain something bigger than what you've been actually asked for. So in my situation, that's what kind of happened. My father had to die for me to truly live in my purpose and not feel stuck no more, is the point I'm trying to make. Because now I'm living not only in my purpose, but I'm doing every single thing that I wanted to do. Only thing I'm missing is him. But I'm literally living in my purpose and not feeling stuck no more. But he had to leave in order for me to do that. And that's what gives me understanding of that sometimes we have to be ready for that sacrifice that's going to be made.
to not only not feel stuck, but living on purpose. Let me just say that.
I just want to elaborate on that real quick. Not only just the sacrifice, but sometimes you just have to go through some other journeys before you're going to get to your purpose, because maybe you're just not ready right then and there for what God has for you later. So sometimes, like I said, the restaurant management thing really helped me for where I am right now. Would I have loved to have avoided restaurant management? Yes. I would never want to go back. But it definitely helped me to get to where my purpose is now. So I do think there is a fire you have to go through to get to the where you're supposed to be.
And I wouldn't say I've ever been stuck, because I've been super, super blessed to have some really cool roles. But I will say I do get stuck from a challenge in myself perspective. Like I love, anytime I feel like I am not adding purpose or adding value, whether to my family, to the work that I do, and the people that I get to connect with, I learn. And that is kind of like something that I've always, when I'm stuck, I gotta go learn something. Because it just like continues to push me to whether that's learning about another culture or whether that's becoming more educated, whatever it is, when I get stuck, I go out and seek, okay, what can I do that can add, it can add value to not only me, but to the people that I'm around as well.
And Brandon, it's not funny, but when you said, like, I'm sorry I keep talking about my dad. I literally, this morning, I was like praying, I'm just like, Lord, I know I'm gonna just keep talking about you and Faye, and I was like, what should I do? But I really cannot talk about my life without mentioning my Faye. So you talk about your day, I'm talking about my day too.
Right.
I'm talking about my day too. I've been stuck, but not like in an area, but more so in my mind when it comes to like the opinions of others. That left me like, what they think, or what, like, should I do that? And again, going back to the word, when you are dealing with those strong emotions, or when I'm dealing with those strong emotions, I shoot back with the word, and I have to remind myself that they're just people. Like, what can mere man do to me? Like, just do it, stay aligned. And yeah.
Did I answer the question?
Okay.
Yeah. And I love how, like, you guys all kind of